Hello Aquarius, I'm Colleen Pearl, the Cool Crone, and welcome back to my channel. I want to take a moment to say thank you to everyone who left comments on my last video, and to those of you who are new subscribers, welcome and thank you. Thank you so much. I'm glad everybody is here. In today's video, we will be discussing the major astrological events for 2021 as it relates to Aquarius. Now, you should watch the video for both your rising sign and your sun sign, as both will be very informative. 2021 has a lot happening astrologically, so let's get into it. Hello Aquarius, this is your 2021 prediction. So starting off on New Year's Day, we have a stellium of planets in your first house. You also have a stellium of planets in your 12th house. So let's talk about the 12th house first. The 12th house is going to show a lot of work that you've been doing in regards to your dreams, your subconscious, letting go. You may be consciously working on this or not. You may be working on it subconsciously in your dreams. But the Sun and Mercury are there at the beginning of the year, so you may be much more aware of this than usual. Pluto has been there for quite some time, about 12 years. So I don't think you're any stranger to having very amazing dreams that seem completely prophetic, but also powerful messages coming through in those dreams. And right now you're going to have the Mercury and Sun there, so you're going to be able to remember those things and remember what the lessons are that Pluto is trying to teach you. In your first house, in the beginning of the year and New Year's, you're going to have Saturn and Jupiter, and actually Pallas Athena, which is one of the asteroids, in your first house. So Saturn and Jupiter don't really do the same thing. Saturn is all about construction and restriction and limitations, but it also teaches us clarity and gives you crystallization and focus. So Saturn isn't all about taking things away. Saturn is about teaching you lessons and allowing you to see really truly who you are, what your skills are, what you can do. It also brings rewards when you really work at something. It's not just about just work hard and you'll get a reward. It's about work hard at something that you're either really good at or you really love, so that you produce some kind of a result at the end of it, even if it takes a very long time, and then you do get the reward from Saturn. So 2021 promises to be a year where you will be getting some rewards as regards your hard work on yourself. The first house is all about yourself. It's the way people see you. It's the way you look physically. It's the way you project your brand. And that's what people meet. When you walk into a room for the first time and meet people, people are meeting your rising sign. And Aquarius, your sign is known to be unusual, offbeat, unconventional. Most of the Aquarius rising people that I know have very bright, very icy blue eyes. Now, of course, not every Aquarius rising is going to have icy blue eyes. That just isn't physically possible. But you will notice that is one thing. When you see that in somebody, you can bet that they have a strong Aquarius in their chart, if not Aquarius rising. Now, Jupiter is also in your first house, and that will cause things to expand. So you've got Saturn contracting and you've got Jupiter expanding. So how is all this going to work? Well, every 20 years, Saturn and Jupiter come into conjunction with one another. And this conjunction that we just had in the winter solstice of 2020 was the first time in many years that we had a very close conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius. So it's a new element, air, and it heralds a 200-year cycle where we will be having Jupiter and Saturn meet every 20 years in air signs. Jupiter and Saturn control the government. They control what controls us, or they rule, rather. They don't control it. They rule what controls us and how decisions are made for us as a group, as a country, as a city, as a state, as a nation, as a planet. So you are going to feel like you are now mastering yourself. you are going to look at the energies that need to be contracted and be able to contract them, or need to be controlled, or need to be crystallized or clarified. Things that you need to do that require really, really intense, long periods of study or laser focus. Saturn will give you the ability to do that. And so you will learn from that, and you will change your brand to be the person who can do that. Jupiter will give you generosity and luck and the ability to be social and to get along with people, even though it's Aquarius. And Aquarius is kind of aloof usually, but Jupiter gives it a warming quality. So this year of 2021 is going to be pretty amazing for you, Aquarius, because you have these very strong planets starting out in your first house for the first part of the year that are going to march through really for a very long time and really lead you into different places. But I think that your ability, now you've come out of a period of time where you've had so much Capricorn energy in your 12th house. So a lot of your subconscious stuff has been changing. Capricorn is all about mastery of all of those things. And now out of your subconscious come the choices that you're going to make to change your brand appreciably on the mundane earthly level for the rest of your life, really. So big changes actually for you, Aquarius. On the 14th of the month of January 14th, the moon will be in Aquarius. It's not a new or a full moon. It's a crescent moon. It's just coming off of the new moon in Capricorn. And you will find that there's a big emphasis for you. You may feel a little more emotional or a little approachable when your moon is in the first house. But it will put a spotlight on just how much you've changed. You may find that your partner or the women in your life may really comment on how much you have changed and how you have probably matured and deepened your understanding of something. So that's what's coming up for you in mid-January. Also on January 14th is when Uranus goes direct. It's been retrograde, I think, most of 2020. And Uranus has been in your, let's see, that's going to be in your, Taurus is going to be in your, what house is that going to be? Your 4th house. So this is going to, yeah, your 4th house. So Uranus in your 4th house has really been shaking up your domestic situation. Either you have had really quirky, weird, eccentric roommates for a long time, or you have a really quirky, eccentric home, or the property that you live on. There's something very unusual about it. And so now we have Uranus, which has been retrograde, meaning it just kind of puts the energy a little bit to sleep, but it doesn't stop it. It just kind of tones it down. Now it's going to come out even more in full force on the 14th of January. So you're going to feel a little push on your domestic situation. And then on the 16th of January, Mars is going to be conjunct with Uranus. So that might mean that there could actually be some sort of an accident or something on your property, or there could be what would that be? Mars rules sharp things. So it doesn't rule things like water or gas or anything like that. So nothing like that kind of an accident would happen. And it doesn't, Mars can be fiery, but we're talking about the sign Taurus. So it's most likely something underground because Taurus is the earth. But there could be something going on with your house that needs to be explored. On a more national level, Mars conjuncting Uranus, I'm guessing that it's some sort of a weather event that is going to affect a large group of people. And it's not necessarily true that you're going to have something go wrong or a disaster of some kind on your property unless your chart coincides with the exact degrees that Mars and Uranus are being conjunct. And I believe it's very early. I think it's about 7 degrees or something. So around 7 degrees of Taurus is what you're looking at. Okay. Now on the 16th, we said that already. Oh, we did everything on this chart. So we're moving on to the end of January. So the end of January on the 30th, that's the first Mercury retrograde of the year. And all the Mercury retrogrades this year are going to be in air signs, which for me, being a Libra, is totally a breath of fresh air. Just a little bit easier for me to deal with. The retrogrades for 2020 were very rough. I had a hard time with them. On January 30th, Mercury is going to go retrograde in Aquarius. So that's going to be in your first house. So it is going to really affect you no matter what degree of Aquarius rising you have. You're going to have a little bit of trouble communicating, trouble getting your brain to wrap itself around the words. You may forget your keys. You may forget your passwords. You probably forget your passwords. That's probably the thing that's going to really be messed up. So get that password list together. Make sure your computer's backed up. If you don't have to drive, don't drive. Not that you would have an accident, but fender benders are very likely during a Mercury retrograde, and it's in your first house. It's in your brand. So something is going to happen, to you with Mercury retrograde, and it lasts 3 weeks. It lasts until February 20th. So just be careful. All right. And then on February 11th, we have a new moon in Aquarius in your first house. So that's your new moon for the year. So if you want to make wishes, if you want to wish for prosperity, if you want to start something really new about your brand, which you should do, you should really spend all that beginning of the Mercury retrograde really thinking about how you want to change your brand, improve your brand. And by brand, I mean, how people view you. Do you want to update that in some way? Do you want to change that in some way? Maybe make your personal look and brand more in line with whatever your business is, if it's online or whatever like that. So then on the 17th, we have an event between Saturn and Uranus. They are squaring each other. And so, Saturn's still going to be in your first house. Uranus is still going to be in your fourth house. So there's going to be a clash of some kind. There's going to be some kind of an event where you are not excited, not very happy, not very pleased with whatever the eccentricity is that's going on in your domestic situation. Whether that's a person or a particular item or just a situation, you're not going to, it's going to create an event that shows you what is difficult and uncomfortable about the situation. It does not mean that you actually have to change it. It just means on those couple of days where the square is in effect, that you feel very, very uncomfortable with it. And then at the end of the month, on the 27th, we have Mars trine Pluto. And Mars is going to be in, where's Mars? Please, Mars, come here. Mars is going to be in your fourth house because it's still pretty close to Uranus. And Pluto is in your 12th house. So your Mars energy is going to give you a boost when it comes to digging up that old subconscious baggage that you have going around in your brain and helping you get rid of it or giving you a means to alleviate it in some way. It could be you just have an emotional moment about it that is very clearing, very healing. It's a positive energy between Mars and Pluto. It's not a negative energy. It's not a harsh energy. It's positive. So I feel like there is the potential there for a healing or a resolution or in some way just resolving. Yeah, resolution. Okay, in March 8th to 10th, we have the Sun conjuncting Neptune. This is beautiful. This is really, really beautiful. Now, Neptune is in your second house for money and resources and values. And the Sun is going to be there too. So anything having to do with boosting your income or looking at your values is going to be tinged with that Neptunian energy. So you may have a very romantic, fantastical, creative view of your income streams and your values about things. Do you want to make money off the backs of people who just, have to work for, lower than minimum wage? Or do you want to change the way you conduct your business, change your job, change whatever? I don't think that you will absolutely make a huge change from this aspect, but you will think about things, you will examine things. Now, having said that, Neptune is known for making things confused and making things foggy and dissolving things. So be careful that this Sun conjunct Neptune doesn't dissolve an income stream, doesn't allow you to make choices that just eliminates a source of income from your life, unless that's what you really want. If you want to dissolve a business because maybe the original business practices and platform are just not in line with your values anymore, okay, fine. You sell that off and you wash your hands of it. But if you are just thinking, well, I have to make XYZ changes in my business and it ends up just eliminating a whole stream of income and that's not what you intended, Neptune is very powerful and it will dissolve that stream for you. So just be careful what you wish for under this aspect, because you will get it. On the 13th, we have Venus in Pisces conjunct that Neptune that Neptune in Pisces. So Venus in your second house usually will bring a little boost in income. It's going to bring a gift, new business, a bonus, an unexpected check. It's going to bring, nice stuff to you in the form of things that you value. And a lot of us happen to value money. So it brings you that thing. But having it conjunct Neptune, like I said, in your second house, just be careful because Neptune will dissolve things. So if you're wishing on a star, make sure that star isn't Neptune. Make sure that you're just careful with that. Same thing that I just said about the Sun conjuncting Neptune just goes double for Venus, because Venus does rule money. So just be careful with that. At the end of the month, then Venus moves on into Aries and conjuncts the planet Chiron. Chiron is a planet that was discovered in the mid-80s, and it orbits around in a figure eight, in an elliptical pattern around Uranus and then Saturn. And many, many times a year, it is retrograde. It doesn't really matter that it's retrograde so much. Chiron is known as two things, two catchphrases. One is the wounded healer, and one is the rainbow bridge. The rainbow bridge is the bridge between the old and the new. So Saturn being the old, it goes around Saturn, and then Uranus being the new, it goes around Uranus. So Chiron came into being, really being used and us feeling her energy at a time when we began to accept that people had problems like addiction, and that addiction was a disease, not just a character flaw. So Chiron helped us embrace rehabilitation for addicts. The most notable thing that started to come into the foreground of society was AA. It still held a lot of stigma for many years, but more and more people turned to that as a help for addiction, as a first step to help cure their disease. Also, wherever Chiron is in your chart is where you will have a wound or a trauma that was suffered probably in childhood or even young adulthood. And that place of wounding causes people to react in different ways. Some people try to prevent that from ever happening to other people, and some people just close it off. When it's closed off, you're not able to live to your full potential. And so it's a wound that you carry with you. What Chiron asks us to do is to look at that wound, to really examine it and to heal from it, to forgive our abusers or our predators, and to forgive ourselves and to move on and to heal. Now, in the case where there's physical damage, we have to forgive whatever caused that physical damage and forgive ourselves and realize we're not at fault. When you do this, you obtain or you attain the ability to help others see that they need to do that too, that they can, healing, I mean. And then maybe they'll heal others too, but healing others through your lesson of your trauma is a very important thing that Chiron allows us to bring forward. Venus conjunct Chiron brings the feminine energy to the healing. And so this is a very powerful conjunction for some people, and it may be a point in time where they really are able to heal if it falls in a sensitive point in their chart. But this is the opportunity for that energy to happen, because it brings the energy of Venus, which is very accepting, loving, feminine energy, to Chiron, which is healing and going into that dark place that most people don't want to go. So let's see, where is Aries in your chart? So that's in your third house. So that's in the house for brothers and sisters, siblings, neighbors, cousins, your day-to-day transactions, your thinking, early childhood, your way of communicating, talking, speaking, singing, writing. And so you can heal whatever it is that's holding you back in that area. And then maybe you can learn to bring that to others. And your way of healing may be, because it's the third house, your way of healing may be to write about it and to publish it on the internet, or to write a blog, or to start an online group. And, you may have different ways of healing it. So you may go to school for it. You may create a school for it. So that's the power of Chiron. And that's what this Venus conjunct Chiron can really bring about for you. Okay, now we're into May. So there wasn't that much else going on in April, so I'm just zooming forward to the event in May that is more profound. So just to let you know, Aquarius, I'm not hitting every single month. I'm hitting the major astrological events of the year and telling you how those are going to affect you. So on May 14th, Jupiter goes into Pisces. This means it moves out of your first house and into your second house, where it will focus on your resources. And we spoke a little bit about resources before, but Jupiter is a lucky planet, and it's sort of the father figure planet. This is where you get a boon. This is where you expand things having to do with your resources, because Jupiter is the largest planet and it expands wherever it goes. So if you're looking to expand that income stream, or to expand your business, or to expand even just, what you see as important in your life, Jupiter is there to help you do it. And it'll be there for probably about a month. Now, when Jupiter goes into Pisces, then overall in our country, people will begin to trust that the authorities have their best interests at heart, which is really nice. I mean, it's going to take until May for that to happen. So up until then, we will have Jupiter in Aquarius, where lots of changes will be taking place, and people will be welcoming the changes, but also disturbed by the changes, because it is going to shake up the status quo. So it's going to be hard for people to trust. By mid-May, when Jupiter goes into Pisces, we begin to feel that, okay, things are going to be all right. I think our government is going back to a place where it actually takes care of us and cares about us, which is really, really nice. The end of May brings us into eclipse season. So on May 26th, we have the first eclipse of the year, and it's in Sagittarius. So that's going to be in your 11th house for hopes, dreams, and wishes. The 11th house is often known as kind of the house where it indicates your retirement. Hopes, dreams, and wishes, groups, friends, societies, things like that. That's where you go after you've done your big job and made money. That's where you go to volunteer, or to travel, or to take up the hobbies that you never had time for when you were working. Or if you made a boatload of money, it's where you go to contribute your money to humanitarian causes, or start your own humanitarian foundation or something. So the 11th house is the house of a great deal of largesse, right? And that's where your eclipse is. So this probably will get you thinking about your retirement, surely, and assessing how you want things to go. Eclipses always herald change. So you may decide to change things about your retirement, or change things about the groups that you participate in, or your hopes, dreams, and wishes may actually change when you have this eclipse happen. Then on May 29th, Mercury goes retrograde again, and this time it's in Gemini. So that's going to be in your 5th house, your house for fun. So Mercury retrograde there is going to indicate that things are fun, but kind of cuckoo and mixed up. So just enjoy that. Now, Venus actually is in your 5th house during the same time that Mercury is there retrograde. And that's why I kept saying Venus, because I kept looking down and seeing the symbol for Venus. But you will be having fun in that month during the end of May and into June. That's a period of time when you're going to be having fun. However, I wouldn't be taking a vacation or anything at that time because Mercury is going retrograde and the travel plans will get all messed up. So I would be careful with that. And as you know, probably by now, Mercury goes retrograde for about 3 weeks every time it goes retrograde. Now, coming into June, on June 10th, we have the solar eclipse, which is the answering eclipse to the lunar eclipse that we had at the end of May. And this solar eclipse is going to be in Gemini, which is going to fall into your 5th house. So that 5th house is getting a lot of emphasis. So here we have Mercury still going to be retrograde, but you have a solar eclipse there, and that always means a new beginning and a big change, right? So with Mercury retrograde there, I would say that you should keep it close to home, but certainly explore what it is that you want to change in your life. Now, the 5th house rules a couple of things. It is the house for fun. It is the house for games of chance. It is the house for romance, not marriage, but romance and wild love affairs and flings. It's the house for sports. It's the house for competition. It's the house for the stock market. So when you're playing with things, that's the 5th house. And you have the solar eclipse there. So obviously you're going to be assessing what it is that you like to do for fun and how you play during this solar eclipse. Then we have on the 14th, something to bring you right back down to earth. We have a Saturn square Uranus, and that Saturn is in your 1st house. So that's going to bring you right back down to reality. And the Uranus is in your 4th house. So things at home are going to just slam into gear on the 14th after you started having fun on the on the 10th with the solar eclipse. So Saturn, like I said, it isn't fun all the time, but it isn't bad. It isn't negative. It is clarity. It is focus. It's the ability to work for long hours. It's the ability to study and concentrate for long hours. So you do have some real positive things there with Saturn in your 1st house, helping you get things done, helping you be very, very structured, actually, about you and your brand. And then you've got Uranus in your house for domesticity, which means that, you know, there's just going to be some eccentric things going on your property or in your home, or people who live there are going to be eccentric or unconventional. Mad scientist, right? Then on the 21st, Jupiter goes retrograde from Pisces and starts heading back to Aquarius. And at that time, it's going to go back into your 1st house. And Jupiter does expand things, so but Saturn contracts things. So usually when people have Jupiter in the 1st house, they gain weight. They gain a little weight because things expand. But you have Saturn there too, so I don't think that you will. I think that you will exercise whatever discipline is needed to keep that situation kind of status quo. So that's a good thing about Saturn too, is that it's keeping your waistline in check while Jupiter comes back into your 1st house. Then on the following day is when Mercury goes direct on the 22nd. So see, it's just those 3 weeks that Mercury is retrograde, and it's not going to hurt that bad, but it is going to kind of put a squelch on your fun factor. But you got to know how to have fun. A lot of fixed signs, when they get working, you know, they just are on one track. They're fixed. That's what they want to do. And then they forget that they have to actually stop working and go have fun with the family or their significant other or their kids or their dog or whatever. And that's what you have to do, Aquarius. You have to remember that it's time to have fun. You got to know how to have fun, or you're just half a person. All right. And then we come up to July 1st, which is when Mars has traveled around the zodiac pretty much and is in Leo and is opposing that Saturn in your first house. So that's when Mars is going to be in your seventh house for your partner. Now, this could be a business partner, not necessarily a romantic partner. Any partner, any open enemy is going to be represented in your seventh house. Saturn is still going to be in your first house. And so those two very strong energies are going to oppose each other. This could mean that that you have a fight with your spouse. This could mean that you have a real blow up with your spouse or your business partner. This could mean that you feel that they are reckless. You know, Mars in Leo can be flamboyantly reckless, and you've got Saturn in Aquarius where you have it together. You're not letting yourself be reckless, right? So there's going to be a very, very uncomfortable standoff between the two of you. And that, again, this could be business partner, marriage partner, open enemy. Anybody that falls in that rough category, you're going to have a problem with them. I think on a national level, it could indicate a possible military conflict at that time, but not necessarily a big war. It's Leo, so it could be a big show. It could be somebody putting on a big show, but it results in them using the military to put on that big show. So that's what I'm going to say about that. And then the rest of July is kind of a snooze. August is kind of a snooze. And then and most of September is a snooze. And we come up to the end of September, the 27th of September, where we have Mercury again going retrograde, but this time in the third air sign of this year, Libra. So Libra is going to fall in is that your fourth house? No, your ninth house. So 9, 10. Yep, in your ninth house. So Libra is going to be, Mercury is going to be retrograde in your ninth house. Mars and the Sun are also going to be in your ninth house. So what is the ninth house? Well, the ninth house is higher learning. It's philosophy and religion. It's the legal profession. It's the publishing profession. It's foreign cultures. It's anything that is different than what you grew up with. So different cuisines, different religions, different countries, different languages. All of those things are ruled by the ninth house. And you have the Sun and Mars there. So you're going to want to travel. You're going to want to experience something different. You are going to be maybe trying to learn a new language and deciding it would just be easier to go to that country, or learn to cook in a different cuisine, or take up a different type of religion. And that Mercury retrograde is going to give you some difficulties in attaining that. So Mercury retrograde is going to kind of ball you up in the ninth house for a while. It's for the 3 weeks. Probably by that time, the Sun will have moved on. So unfortunately, I don't think you'll get a chance to go to that other country. Or if you do, there may be problems with travel because Mercury is retrograde and it rules travel. Most of the time with Mercury retrograde, it pertains to short distance travel. So if you actually have, say, a business trip planned for this time of year, for the end of September into October, and you absolutely have to go, that doesn't necessarily mean that things will get screwed up on the trip, because Mercury is about short-term travel. So if it's a very long trip, like overseas, then that's not going to be as affected. You probably have a few little snafus, but that can happen. On October 17th, Jupiter will be going direct and heading back into Pisces. It'll still be in Aquarius for a little while. It takes a little while for it to get through the last degrees of Aquarius and going into Pisces, but that's good news. It's going to take about 2 months for it to get there. Mercury is going direct the very next day. So if your travel could at all wait until after October 18th, that would be a good thing. Otherwise, you might end up leaving your passport in the car. You know, little stupid things like that happen on Mercury retrograde. I'm not saying you absolutely will. I'm not saying that some planet rules passports being left in a car. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that you just want to be really careful. And if you can avoid these energies, then avoid them. Okay, that brings us up to November 15th. November 15th, we have an event between Mars and Uranus. They will be squaring off. Mars will be in Scorpio. Uranus will still be in Taurus. And that's going to involve your 4th house to your 10th house. So Mars in Scorpio. That month, it's going to give you a lot of energy in your career area. So things that you want to do to build your legacy, to be in front of the public, to be noticed by either the public or higher ups, depending on what your position is. This is a great month for you. However, you have Uranus opposing it. What does this mean? Well, could mean that you just, out of dumb luck, do the most brilliant thing they've ever seen in your career, and they maybe give you an award or give you a boost and a promotion or something like that. It could also mean that you do something that is the worst thing that ever has happened in your career. It could mean that forces outside of you also affect your career very greatly. So through no fault of your own, something could happen. Uranus is surprising. Uranus is eccentric. Uranus is very unpredictable. So it's really hard to say what's going to happen when Uranus has a hard aspect like this. Very often, Uranus happens to affect natural disasters and large weather events that affect thousands and thousands of people. And the thing that worries me about this aspect is that Mars is in one of its favorite signs, Scorpio, which is very militaristic. So it could also be a military event at this time. Not necessarily a war, but a little more worrying than that previous one that I spoke about when I spoke about military things. Now, that doesn't mean that you personally are going to be going off to war or something like that. I just told you what the personal outcome would be for you. I'm just saying that as a country, we may be affected that way, that something larger. Very often with the larger planets, the things that are going on with them do affect more countries and world leaders. And then there is an effect with the personal too. You have to look at them because they're going to be completely different things, right? All right. Then, I forgot about the eclipses. Okay. So we have a lunar eclipse on November 19th in Taurus. So that's going to be in your 4th house. So that lunar eclipse, again, is going to focus on stuff having to do with your home and what's going on there and what weirdo is living in the attic or what is living underground in your backyard. So there's some sort of event that's going to change or cause change at your house, tremendous change. And then on the 4th of December, we have the answering eclipse to the first lunar eclipse. We have a solar eclipse in Sagittarius, and that's going to be in your 11th house. So your 11th house again takes some emphasis having to do with things that you would do for the community, things that you would do if you were thinking of retiring, or just things having to do with your hopes, dreams, wishes, or groups that you are a part of. And that would cause you to change. So maybe you join a group, maybe you drop out of a group, maybe you take a leadership role in a group. That would be a huge change. Or maybe you help change the structure of a group. You've got all this Uranus energy going on in your chart. So, it's very likely over the course of 2021 that a lot of long-standing groups in general, whether they're political or social or professional or whatever, industrial, it's a good bet that a lot of these organizations are going to change from the ground up or dissolve because of the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction, where we're just not going to accept the same kind of leaders anymore. Therefore, the groups that we use to communicate with those leaders and make our demands known are no longer going to serve us, so we don't need them. All right, so then that brings us up to December 24th, Christmas Eve 2021, where we have two things in December that I want to tell you about. Saturn is still in Aquarius, and it's still going to come into an exact square with Uranus in Taurus. So that's Saturn in your 1st house for your brand and Uranus in your 4th house for your domestic situation, and they're going to have a clash. There's going to be a clash of energies there on December 24th. So for Christmas Eve, don't invite the aliens. That's what I'm saying. And then at almost the last day of the year, December 30th, Jupiter finally goes into Pisces. So all is well. So we can again trust our government. We can feel at peace. We can feel literally a feeling of world peace on this day, December 30th, 2021, because Jupiter in Pisces is a very peaceful energy, very healing energy, a very compassionate energy. So we're going to end the year on a much more compassionate, loving note than what we're starting. That's always a good thing. So Aquarius, that is your year 2021 in a nutshell. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you will leave comments down below and let me know what you liked or didn't like about the video. And I hope you will refer back to this video through 2021 and let me know how you progress. Let me know what those Uranus events, what kind of effect they had on your life and your house and your brand. And by all means, if you want to get a personal reading with me, the contact information is right here. You can go on my website and see a list of all of the services. You could also email me at coolcrone444@gmail.com. Please leave a comment. Please like the video. That helps out the channel so much. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. I'm so glad that you watched the video. I really hope that it helped you, Aquarius. And I wish you Happy New Year for 2021. I hope it's a glorious year for you. And I'll see you next time.